Hello, everyone. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about Vagrant, which is a tool for managing virtual machines, and basically making them a much better part of your workflow for developing software, with an eye towards making things much more portable and reproducible for other people. Okay, so what is Vagrant? Vagrant is basically a shell interface for controlling various virtual machine backends. It's got a nice website here with lots of great documentation. Talks about the system. So if I want to create a virtual machine in Vagrant, I just have to type Vagrant init. Actually, we'll do Trusty 64, so I'm identifying that I want Ubuntu Trusty 64-bit version, and there are lots of different stock images available for use with Vagrant. And this creates a file in my current directory called a Vagrant file. This is just a text file, and it has the configuration information for my virtual machine in it. And we'll talk a little bit more about the contents of that file in just a moment. And I can obviously, because this is a text file, if I'm working with Git or something, I can just say git init and git add the Vagrant file to my repository. And then later on, when anybody comes along and wants to check out my repository, then they could just type Vagrant up, and Vagrant will manage provisioning a virtual machine for them that has the configuration that I've specified in my Vagrant file, which is very useful. And it'll just take a few moments to get started. Vagrant handles a lot of the other problems, or simplifies a lot of the other issues that we have working with virtual machines. So for example, if I were to go directly into VirtualBox and create this virtual machine, I'd have to worry about setting up virtual networking and virtual disk devices, moving files into or out of the virtual machine. But Vagrant basically handles all of that for me. So as you can see, all I did was I typed Vagrant init and now Vagrant up. It's provisioned a virtual machine. It's set up its virtual networking. It's set up security for the virtual machine. And in a moment, I'll be able to log in. And so on my current machine, I just have Ubuntu Precise. It's a little out of date. But if I just type Vagrant SSH, I SSH into the virtual machine that I'm currently working with. And I can see it's Ubuntu Trusty, which is a different operating system that I'm using by default on my home machine. Another nice thing about Vagrant is if, for example, I'm working with a large source code repository, instead of creating a new Git repository, if I just were to check out something I already have, git clone. Files that I have available in the same directory as the Vagrant file are available also on the virtual machine as well, which is very useful for getting data into or out of the virtual machine. And also, because if people have noted, if we just distribute our software within virtual machines, that's essentially the same as distributing black boxes that no one knows how to operate. Vagrant also contains a lot of great interfaces for various development operations or provisioning tools. And so I'm just going to give a brief demonstration of the most basic provisioner, which is the shell provisioner here. Provision shell So by running the vagrant provision command, within the virtual machine, the shell command that I gave to alter the configuration of the virtual machine is run. Now the nice thing about this is if I were to get rid of the virtual machine, so destroy it, and then create a new one, the command is going to be run at the end of the sequence where vagrant starts up this virtual machine. And so basically we can always, with vagrant, you can start from a known good starting point, a base image of some kind, specify what sort of configuration steps need to be done to set up the VM according to your software requirements, potentially compile any software that you need to compile in order to run your experiments, and even automatically run the experiments within the virtual machine. And then that vagrant file that specifies all this configuration information is just a text file. It can be distributed alongside your software in a Git repository. So in a future installment, I hope to cover that, but this is really all I wanted to talk about for today because this video has already gotten to be too long. So if you think this is interesting, then I encourage you to check out Vagrant in the future. Thank you, and goodbye.